Australian government lawyers have denied claims by the Serbian tennis player Novak Djokovic that he'd been given an assurance he would be allowed to enter the country without a COVID vaccination. A stay-at-home order has been issued to every one of the 14 million people living in the Chinese port city of Tianjin, so authorities can conduct mass testing following at least 20 cases of coronavirus. An official government agency in Kazakhstan has said 164 people died in last week's violence, but the country's health ministry has not confirmed the figure. And an Afghan baby who was handed to soldiers at Kabul airport during last summer's evacuation has been reunited with his family. The child disappeared while thousands were trying to flee Afghanistan when the Taliban took control.
We begin with the pandemic situation in Japan, where the Omicron variant continues to spread rapidly. Intensive measures to curb rising infections came into effect on Sunday in Okinawa and Yamaguchi prefectures, where U.S. bases are located, as well as in Hiroshima Prefecture. Okinawa recorded its second highest daily count on Sunday with over 1,500 cases. In Hiroshima, the figure exceeded 600 for the first time. Bars and restaurants in Okinawa are being asked to shorten their operating hours. Residents are being urged to avoid crowded places.
I think it's tough for people in the restaurant industry.
The situation is a little more serious as infections are increasing rapidly. I will keep taking preventive measures.
A growing number of healthcare staff are unable to work due to infections. Emergency and other services have been scaled down in Okinawa. Prime Minister Kishida Fumio says he will do what is necessary to avoid putting strain on the medical system.
We have started booster vaccinations and the practical use of an oral medicine. But if there is a medical crisis, I will consider further restrictions.
Japan confirmed over 8,200 new infections nationwide on Sunday, with one new serious hospitalization for a total of 90. Tokyo reported over 1,200 cases, topping 1,000 for the second day in a row. Prime Minister Kishida says the Japanese and U.S. governments have agreed to restrict the movements of U.S. military personnel in Japan. Local residents near U.S. bases are becoming increasingly concerned about the surge in coronavirus infections.
We reached a broad agreement that the U.S. will not allow non-essential outings by its military personnel in Japan.
Japan has been urging the U.S. to adopt tougher antivirus measures. Both governments said in a joint statement that the restrictions start from Monday and last for 14 days. The U.S. will also continue strict measures, including the mandatory wearing of face masks. Personnel will also be tested before their departure from the U.S. and again immediately upon arriving in Japan. On Sunday, the U.S. Marine Corps Iwakuni Air Station in Yamaguchi Prefecture confirmed 5 new cases of the coronavirus. U.S. officials have neither disclosed their nationality or gender, nor whether they were barred from leaving the base. The officials say they will be quarantined until they fully recover. Care homes across Japan are pressing ahead with third vaccine shots for seniors and staff as the Omicron variant continues its rapid spread. 5 care homes in Chiba City, east of Tokyo, started giving third shots on December 23rd. That was nearly 2 months ahead of initially planned. More than 600 users and staff at these facilities are expected to have had their boosters by the end of the coming week.
Giving booster shots will reassure caregivers, seniors, and their family members.
But a group representing elder care facilities says only a small number have started administering the shots so far. Some homes say they have not received vaccination tickets from municipalities. Others say they have been told by officials that vaccine supplies have not yet arrived.
Care homes tend to be places where you get severe cases and infection clusters. Giving booster shots as soon as possible over the coming month is key to preventing that.
The association says care homes can reach out to their municipal offices to urge them to speed up the process. A Japanese organization promoting humanitarian assistance has provided over 1 million doses of an Indian-made coronavirus vaccine to the Red Cross in Myanmar. A cargo flight transporting the vaccines arrived in Yangon on Sunday. The Nippon Foundation has been active in Myanmar for many years. It decided to donate a total of 2 million shots to the Red Cross, which has been engaged in humanitarian activities following a coup last February. Myanmar's medical system virtually collapsed when infections surged last summer, which resulted in many deaths. Vaccines from China, Russia, and India have been administered in the country, but an increased vaccination rollout is necessary to prevent a resurgence of cases. Another 1 million doses are expected to arrive later this month. In the United States, the Omicron variant is driving infections to their highest levels. There were more than 1 million cases one day last week and over 600,000 on each of the past few days. The surge is casting a shadow over people's lives. In New York, the subway system has been paralyzed as workers, including drivers, are off because of infections. 3 subway lines have been suspended. The schedules of others have been reduced. Schools across the country are reopening after the winter break, but people are divided over whether classes should be in person or not. Authorities in New York have decided to go ahead with in-person learning. Strict measures have been put in place to try and keep students safe. If one child is found to be infected, other children in the class are provided test kits. They can keep coming to school if they test negative and have no symptoms.
If they close the schools, that means parents have to stay home, and we do have to, support our children and our families, so that's a challenge.
In Chicago, schools have closed temporarily due to disagreements between the mayor and the teachers union. The mayor wants in-person classes, but teachers are demanding remote learning. They say schools don't have enough anti-infection measures. Some parents are angry about their children missing classes.
It's just really devastating for, as a parent, to just see my kids have to suffer remote learning again because they don't learn anything.
Hospitals are also struggling. The number of patients has reached new highs, topping 100,000 on Thursday. Hospitalization rates for children aged 4 and under are also surging. This is a vulnerable group, as they are not eligible for vaccines. Public health officials are urging adults to protect them by getting themselves vaccinated. China has been seeing a resurgence in coronavirus cases. The northern city of Tianjin is now conducting PCR tests on all residents after 2 cases of the Omicron variant were detected. State-run China Central Television says the infected are a 29-year-old woman and a 10-year-old girl. They are not from the same family and neither had left the city in the 14 days before testing positive. Authorities believe they are cases of community transmission and have identified 18 people who were in close contact with the 2 and have tested positive. City officials started conducting the PCR tests on Sunday. They plan to test all of Tianjin's more than 13 million residents. The city neighbors Beijing, which will host the Winter Olympics next month. Voters in South Korea will head to the polls in March to choose a new president. The latest polls show ruling party candidate Lee Jae-myung ahead of his main opposition rival by 10 percentage points. Lee represents the Democratic Party and is a former governor of Gyeonggi Province. He has been out on the campaign trail building up his base. The latest Gallup Korea polls show Lee with a support rating of 36%. Lee's main opposition rival is Yoon So-gil of the People Power Party. The former top prosecutor's support rate has slipped to 26%. The drop is partly due to an intra-party dispute. Yoon's aides have been feuding with party leader Lee Jun-sok, who is a popular figure among young people. Lee quit the election committee as a result, and that forced Yoon to overhaul his team. But the 2 suddenly reached a surprise reconciliation. It's a move apparently aimed at attracting younger voters. At 3rd place in the polls is Ahn Chol-soo of the centrist People's Party with 15% of voter support. South Korean voters are watching carefully to see whether the opposition parties will join forces toward possibly forming a coalition that can topple the leading candidate.